Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Free Abundance. So in today's live, I'm going to be going through and doing a book share for my natural health and wellness and healing books that I've been reading over the years. My book collection has grown and shrunk. I'm kind of in this transition period where I am looking for more books to put into my book collection. I do have my bookcase here that does contain a lot of my books that I've been kind of sharing here over the years regarding my spiritual journey, different modalities that I've delved into for self help and healing, and things of that nature. So, I'm going to share the books that I have here in regards to natural healing remedies, the books that have a lot of really good recipes, and just infographics regarding healing of the body. So I do have the ones that I will be sharing here. And some of them you've probably seen before. As I stated, I have gone through a lot of these before and shared some really good information about different things that I've been using. So the first one that I'm going to go through, I did have a video sharing about this book. However, I did take it down because I didn't really thoroughly go into it the way that I had planned for it initially. So I'm going to go back through this book again. So this one is my Natural Medicines and Cures Your Doctor Never Tells You About book. And I picked this one up from a local Habitat for Humanity restore. They always have a really good selection of nearly unused books that you can find for very cheap. I am someone who regularly stops at little free library book stands. There's always something that I find in there as well. So this was definitely a good find. And this one's going to talk a lot about different things that you will learn when it comes to the medicine, kind of world, healing, all ailments. So this one, I'm going to go through the table of contents. So this one has a really large table of contents section. There's probably about 5 or 6 pages of the table of contents. So this is the first page. Then we've got another page here because it does go through every kind of ailment or everything that you're dealing with. So you'll see things that can help with blisters and calluses. You'll see things for body odor, how to naturally banish body odor. You'll see different things about cataracts, depression, even things such as diabetes. It will explain for you what diabetes is. It'll give you some information into the science behind diabetes and how it affects your body. You'll also see here different things about infertility, lung cancer, anything from morning sickness, knee pain, stress, lots of really good things, tooth decay, missing teeth. So lots of really good information you'll find in this read. And this one is kind of a compilation of different things from various doctors. So you'll see here when you're looking for the author or who wrote this book, it will tell you here by the staff of FCNA. So I'm not too sure. I haven't really done background information into who the FCA is. So I will have to definitely look more into it. However, there's a lot of really good stuff in here. So I'm just going to go through and share a couple of infographics that are in here. So the first one here that is kind of personal for me that I definitely can say I, used and looked into during a point in my life where I was dealing with, some things when it comes to the topic of asthma. My daughter was diagnosed with asthma a few years ago, and I wanted to figure out how can I holistically alleviate this, this issue. What can I do, to help her? So this one is definitely really helpful. Fortunately enough, I caught it early and was able to rid her lungs of, essentially what it is an accumulation of mucus. So I was able to, heal her through that time period. And now we are no longer dealing with asthma. So this is definitely a really good book for anyone who's looking for ways to heal their children through asthma. There's definitely an uptick in asthma, whether it's environmental or whatever is going on in our society. Asthma is definitely something that a lot of children are plagued with. And I personally am someone with a child who, came through the asthma. So there's definitely a lot that talks about, what to do in your diet, what to eliminate, based on what you're eating. It will tell you a lot of kind of topical things that you can do as far as taking, a cold water baths, how to alleviate the symptoms. The cough is initially what, I experienced with my child. Just a persistent cough that wouldn't go away. It wasn't a flu. It wasn't, like any kind of sickness in that nature. So I definitely knew that, it was something else. And I definitely, assumed it to be asthma and, got her tested and, that's what it was. So I definitely weighed all of my options before kind of, just giving cough medicine for it, because cough medicine isn't the cure for everything. So it will tell you here how to use your inhaler because, I did use her inhaler in, you know, conjunction with the natural remedies. So I didn't just, rely upon the natural remedies without using the inhaler. We paired the inhaler with different natural remedies and herbs, and we paired them together in a regimen and we used them for a specific amount of time. And that's when I started to see the drawback of the asthma. So there's definitely a lot of good things that you can figure out in here. Let's see what else we have. There is a lot about, like I kind of stated before, coughing, a lot of the cures for coughs, especially when you don't really know what the cough is or where it's coming from. It talks about the importance of taking the right kind of cough medicine. So it'll say here, for example, if you're coughing up phlegm, you need to take an expectorant that will help you cough. If you have a dry cough that doesn't bring up any mucus, you can use a cough suppressant. Suppressants are also called antitussives, and they come in both liquid form and lozenge form. And then it'll also give you some alternatives like drinking herbal teas. I definitely use a lot of those, mild recipes with my daughter, making a borage tea or a borage syrup. Borage flower is definitely something that is known to help alleviate coughs. So I definitely explored that option before I, went in and got a diagnosis for her. So there's a lot of really good things in here. Snoring, how to figure out, ways to alleviate snoring, immune system breakdown, how to supercharge your immune system. So this is a really good one. I definitely keep this one on hand, especially when you don't know exactly what's going on based on your symptoms. It's better to kind of figure it out naturally before you, unless it's life threatening, but to figure it out naturally before you kind of assume it to be one thing, because one symptom can be a million, issues. So it's definitely good to research if it's not life threatening and to figure out the best way to go forward with, your healing and care regimen. So this is definitely a good one. I also have shared this one as well. This is the Kava Nature's Relaxant for Anxiety, Stress, and Pain by Hasnain Walji, a fellow Muslim who is pretty much a jack of all trades, as I have stated here on many occasions. He does a lot of really good things. It'll talk about the scientific evidence behind this kava, the chemistry of it, the usages. You'll learn about etymology. And this one's, very specific to kava. It doesn't have any other types of recipes, but this is definitely a natural remedy that is very good at healing stress. So in the table of contents here, it'll talk about sleep disorders and fatigue, nervous disorders, and then it'll talk about the dosages and clinical applications. Kava is something that is very, very potent. It's a very potent plant compound. And if you drink too much of it, you can definitely hurt your body with overtaking any herbal preparation. Just like any medications, you have to take them in specific dosages in order to get the most out of them. So this is a really good one. It talks about botanical characteristics of kava. Lots of really good stuff. So this was definitely one that I keep in my book stash. Then I've also shared this one on, multiple occasions, my African Medicine by Tariq Sawandi, kind of going through the Yoruba healing science and understanding healing through different, spiritual and religious practices. So I've already really shared a lot about this one. There's a lot of really good information about different herbs, root medicine. So you'll see a lot about like dandelion root, licorice root, how it's used spiritually, and how your spiritual health breaks down into your physical health. So there's a lot of really good stuff in here. It talks a lot about how food can be disease. I've talked a lot about how food is deemed your healing, but it also gives you another perspective on how food is your disease. So it talks about how harmful unbleached whole grain flours are, bleached whole grain flour or non-whole grain flours, that you use in baking are. Gluten is always something that is, known to be a harmful thing for the body. So it just talks about, how these foods can mess with your health, how to essentially bathe the inside of your body. We all know how to bathe the outside of our bodies, but how do you bathe yourself on the inside? And that's by, taking, natural remedies that are going to help your organs function in the way that they are intended to. So lots of really good stuff here. Let's see. And like I said, I've already shared a lot about this book, so I'm not going to go too far into it because there's a lot of really good things here. I think that's pretty much the gist of this one. Really good read. And then I have this one. This is a really good book. They have a pretty good series of books here. So you'll learn about like herbal home spas, the essential oils book, natural baby care, how to concoct your own perfumes, splashes, and colognes. So this is one of the various books in this series, and this one's by Joyce A. Wardwell, the Herbal Home Remedy book. And I have shared a recipe here making different syrups. So this one is a simple recipe for tinctures, teas, salves, tonics, and syrups. Really good read. I really like this one. I definitely keep this one close. In the table of contents, you'll see here, it will go over how to stock your home medicine chest or cabinet, wherever you stock your your natural medicine and apothecary. As you've kind of seen here on my channel, I've shared throughout the years the changes in my apothecary, how I've kind of downsized until I can get a larger cabinet for it. It will talk about making how to actually make a simple cup of tea, making sure that you're not over steeping it or burning away all of the nutrients. It'll talk about potent potables, making herbal tinctures. And I love this section, the homespun alchemy. It talks about making medicinal wines and vinegars. I love making fire cider. So definitely making medicinal vinegars is something that I'm very much into. So there's a lot of really good recipes in here for that. It will talk about how to select the quality ingredients and equipment. It will, kind of explain for you here what makes a quality herb. How do you know if the herbs that you're buying have the most nutrients in them that you are trying to draw out? So it's really nice for that. It has a lot about jarring, how to properly jar and label, measuring, the different equipment that you need for the different ways you're trying to extract the medicine from the herbs. So it'll tell you how to make, a homemade press, how to use a food mill, how to use a wine press. So you'll see that on this page here. Different extraction methods, how to use a mortar and pestle, how to properly weigh your herbs on a scale. Lots of really good stuff. And understanding that when you're using flowers, how do you extract a lot of the nutrients from flowers because they're so delicate. So it'll tell you, the proper methods for steeping flowers, how long you should steep flowers for before they become toxic and you cannot, consume them in a, healthy way. So lots of good stuff here. I love this one. It'll even give you some infographics about the plant names for each herb. So you'll see a lot about lavender or lavandula, mullein, oats, peppermint, lots of good stuff. So this is definitely for anyone who is in the beginning stages of learning about natural health and medicine and making your own products and tinctures. This is definitely the most understandable book for that. Then I also found, and I was excited to find this at the time when I was really getting into natural health and wellness, going to community college, learning online. I found this one at a free library book bin at a local Second and Charles. They usually have a big bin of books that they give away for free. This is the plant identification terminology book, and I did do a couple of reviews for this one. This one's really good. It tells you the different parts of plants. As a lot of people who are into herbalism know, not all parts of plants are consumable. They can be very poisonous. So understanding different parts of the plants is definitely a good place to begin when it comes to being safe. It'll talk about the different root parts, root types. It'll talk about stems, the leaves, surfaces, flowers, every part of plants that we need to understand if it is safe to use. So you'll see a lot of infographics here with different pictures of different parts of the plants. So if you are looking at the base of a leaf, it'll show you here what the base of a leaf looks like. Here in figure 46. So you'll see all of these different figures, and then you'll see the names of each part of those plants. So it's a lot of really good information. Anyone who is into plant taxonomy, Plant taxonomy is a very, very rigorous course that you have to take in college for a long amount of time because there's so much information about plants that you have to learn in order to become an avid, you know, taxonomist. So there's definitely a lot of information here for those who are into plant taxonomy. This is a really, really good read just to kind of, guide yourself through knowing what parts of plants hold the most nutrients. So this is definitely a really good one. I believe this is the second edition. I have not done any research into the first edition. However, I will have to see if, I can find it just so that I can understand, the first part and, the follow through with this second edition. The next one I have here, which is really good, kind of talks more about essential oils and how it works in your body. So it has a lot of, references. This is a desk reference version. And I got this one from a local ARC thrift store. I love going to the ARC thrift store for books. I'm definitely into book thrifting. You can always find really good books for very cheap. So this one is really good. It'll talk about single oils. It'll talk about oil blends, essential waters, or hydrosols. So you can definitely learn a lot about the different types of distillations. It'll talk about massage oils, bar soaps, oral hygiene. One really good one here is talking about the lymphatic pump. It'll talk about the emotional responses to essential oils. For a lot of people who use a lot of essential oils like lavender, lavender provokes the emotion of calm. So it definitely talks about the brain science behind those aromas that provoke different emotional responses. So this is a really good one. This one on this page talks a lot about the female reproductive, system and retention implants. So it'll talk about if you have any issues with, candida or vaginitis. It talks a lot about how those different, herbs and capsules that you insert into your female reproductive system can help to alleviate any kind of discomfort. I know for women, a lot of us use boric acid tablets after menstruation to rebalance the pH. So it talks a lot about that. It'll talk about different ways to use essential oils for your reproductive organs. This is a really good one. It will definitely break it down, by the science. It'll tell you different botanical family names. It'll talk about the plant origins, the extraction methods that are best used for different plants, companion oils. So like I was kind of explaining in one of my videos about, using my cat's claw bark, what kind of harmonizing herbs go well with it. So this definitely talks about companion oils, what oils go together. So like for citrus oils, a lot of the citrus oils that go and pair well together are cypress, eucalyptus, lavender, and rosemary, and thyme. Those herbs all go good together. They all smell, in kind of the same tone. So those oils are really good mixed together. Lots of really good stuff. So I would definitely recommend this one. And this one is also a second edition. So I will definitely have to do some research into if there is, the first edition and kind of pair them together just like this one so that, I get the most information out of them both. Then I've also shared this one here as well, the healing power of aromatherapy. Just like, the essential oils book. I do have another essential oils book that I don't have with me right now that I have shared here before as well. However, aromatherapy is definitely something that I am very much into. So this one talks a lot about kind of the same thing, essential oils, the emotional responses of different aromas, aromatherapy in water, massage techniques, different healing modalities that you can do in your home. It will talk about inhalations, massage oils, lots of really good stuff. Excuse me. And then it will give you some basic understandings of these different oils and what they do. So this one here will tell you about holy basil. Everyone understands basil or holy basil, what it's used for. So basil can be best used for menopause, nervous insomnia, stress, migraine, colds, and hay fever. It'll tell you what the plant family name is. It'll give you a general description and the habitat that it grows in originally. And then it'll give you some kind of folklore history into it, where the essences of, the oil comes from. So it'll tell you the essences obtained from the leaves. It'll tell you the volatility of it. It is a top note. Then it'll tell you what kind of fragrance it is. So it is a type of, spicy fragrance similar to aniseed. So lots of really good information. Benzoin is an example. Bergamot, cashmere, lots of really good herbs here. And a lot that I haven't explored yet that I'm definitely wanting to get into in this new year. So there's lots of really good stuff in this book. I would definitely recommend it. There's a really good bibliography section here. This one has a lot of other books and authors who talk about the same topics here, which is really good. So you can get as much information as possible from various sources. So these are definitely the books that I have been using, and they have definitely got me through. And this one here is kind of more in the topic of, if you have a garden, what kind of things aid your garden in being, it's at its best. So this one is the Backyard Naturalist. And this one just talks about kind of how to take care of your garden, how to invite, the important guests that are needed in your garden, like butterflies, bees, and feeding different birds, and, how those different compounds fertilize your garden. So this is definitely a really good one. I'm not so much, reading this one right now because I do not have a garden as of yet. However, it is really good to get some information into just understanding, the different types of bugs, what kind of things these bugs bring or what they take away from your garden. So it'll talk about mantids, ladybird beetles, wasps, and spiders, their uses in the garden, whether they're beneficial or not. As it states here, the beneficial insects. So this will tell you about ladybird beetles. They are often called ladybugs. So ladybugs are good to have in your garden because they eat aphids in the spring. It'll talk about mantises, why praying mantises are good to have. It'll talk about what the pests are in your garden. So gypsy moths are pests. Bagworm caterpillars are not good for your garden. So a lot of really good facts here, even talking about the different rodents, lizards, how to, properly rid your garden of things that, that eat a lot of your garden herbs and flowers and whatnot. So this is definitely a good one as well. As I stated before, I haven't really been much into it as of yet. But yeah, these are definitely some books that I wanted to share today that are really good. For anyone who is looking for good reads, this is definitely a good selection. I will be growing my book stash back up to where it used to be. I've definitely, traded off and acquired new books in terms of spiritual health and wellness. So I do have a lot of books in regards to faith. As I stated before, I've gone on a spiritual journey for many, many years and looked into different religions. And, as many of you know now, I have, become a Muslim and follow Islam. But I have definitely gone through, different faith modalities, within Christianity. I've done a lot of different things in, learning about Catholicism. So I've read a lot of different things and understanding life from various, perspectives. Um, in terms of reclaiming wellness and taking control of your own life, I'm definitely very much into that kind of realm of study. I've done a lot of learning about soul wisdom. Here talks a lot about um, you know healing in regards to Chinese medicine, TCM. So there's a lot of really good stuff that I have accumulated over the years that I have definitely shared different clips about. But this year, as I stated before, I wanted to do a lot more immersive content. That way you can see, and have a more personal experience with me and understanding what my goal is here being a content creator. So if you enjoyed this video, I would definitely appreciate giving 2 thumbs up, comment, subscribe to my channel for more DIYs, recipes, and reviews. Thank you so much for watching.